Hello, everyone. Welcome to the stream. Woo! Bottom 15 predictions for ZLTAC 2023. Very exciting. Only like, 2 and a bit weeks away. My goodness. Today, I'm joined by Sega and Drake, who was here, but he's been having some technical difficulties. So he's going to be joining us back in a moment. Sega, thank you very much for joining me, mate.
Thank you, mate. It's really exciting to be back here on LSA again. I'm really excited to do the bottom 15, so we'll see how we go.
I would like to point out, as I pointed out to Sega when I asked him, that I don't expect Archangels to be in the bottom 15. I expect them to be top 10, but Sega was playing with a lot of these players that are in the bottom 15, or at least that are in the predicted bottom 15, so I figured he'd be able to give some good insight, and he's just a jolly good fellow. So I wanted him back. So that's why Sega's with us for the bottom 15 before anyone calls us out for having Archangels on a bottom 15 thing.
I don't know. I mean, we still have a full 2 weeks of nationals, so anything can happen, right?
Get out of town, bro. All right. Also, as always, let us know if the music's too loud or too quiet, or if I'm too loud or too quiet, or if Sega is too loud or too quiet, or same for Drake when he gets here. Yeah. No, Drake was saying that he's been having some issues with his home internet, so he's trying to connect to his hotspot now, and then he'll join us back in a moment. But in the meantime, we're gonna get right into it. 15 teams, lot to go through, so we're gonna
smash it out.
Does that sound good? Awesome sauce. Bear with me one moment, everyone. Let me get my whatchamacallit, my thingy up. Yeah.
You thingy, Bob, you whatchamacallit?
Yeah, thingy has been my my replacement word for the last month now. Whenever I can't think of the word I'm thinking of, I just say thingy. Someone transcribe stream for Lil Bo while he's at work, please. Someone get on it. Drake's here. Look, there's Drake. Can you hear us, Drake?
Yes, I can.
Oh, how good. And you sound crisp and you look crisp. Fantastic. Right. Thank you very much for joining us, Drake.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it. It's nice to be talking laser tag. Always really appreciate it. It's good.
What else would you rather be doing?
Don't know. I guess
nothing. Playing laser tag.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's what I would rather be doing. That's the only thing I would rather do than talk about laser tag. But anyway, so basically we're going to go through bottom 15 teams. We're going to talk about the team's strengths, team's weaknesses, and some standout players, and then we're going to move on. You guys ready to rumble?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I am totally ready to rumble. Cool. Here we are. So for those who've tuned in before, the visual setup is going to be a little bit different to what we've done before, where these teams are only listed in they're not listed in any order, actually, if I'm honest. They're listed in the order I copy pasted them from the Nats Rego. So this is insignificant. This is just to look at the aliases. We're just going to be going off of this thingy here. Yeah, anyway, we'll get right into it. Our 30th place team predicted for nationals is WA Paradox. So pretty much unanimously across myself, Runt, Sega, the community, WA Paradox was predicted for 30th place. It was only Drake that had them not in 30th place. But
here's a tip. They're one up the list.
They're one up the list. Yeah, I realized this method of doing it, I can't see what the ones above are. We live and we learn. But anyway, Drake, these are WA people. Tell us about WA Paradox. What are the team's strengths?
Yeah, so WA Paradox, they are basically a new-ish team. So they've got a couple of people that have been pretty strong players in WA and in the WA league scene, but only coming to Nats for the first time. Not Basilisk and Phoenix as well have been playing, some very, very good. Not Basilisk being coming to Nats for the first time and also captaining for the first time as well, which is going to be a time. They're definitely in for a big shock with that one. But KKZ and Jet, formerly Midjet, having to change her alias after getting it banned. I think it's Jet. I think that surely that's it. And two long-term players there with Arbel and Ash as well. So they've definitely got experience in there. Like they're not all new players and things in there, but the step up to Nats there and actually looking at these bottom 15 teams and having to rate them, there are some very good players in even with these bottom teams there. So it's gonna be a little bit hard. So I don't disagree with them fighting towards the bottom end of the table, but I do. Yeah, they're going to have their work cut out for them.
Yeah, and what would you say are some of the weaknesses that you expect this team to kind of have to struggle and improve on throughout the duration of the tournament? Obviously, something that always comes up for WA is not only having to change. Some people have to go from Nexus to Helios Pro, or in this case, a lot of us are going from Nexus or Helios Pro to Helios 2. You guys come from a completely different brand, which plays completely differently as well. But what do you expect to be some of the things that this team struggles with?
Like the playing with Laser Force packs, like they end up pretty similar there. They're actually like the phaser is just as easy to get tagged with by what I'm hearing this Helios 2 phasers are, so it's actually really good for us. Good training for that. But I think that because they are they're such a new team, like there's levels of there's a bunch of calls that you'll make in a game that are based on experience.
Yeah,
like everyone in your team will kind of like something will just happen. You'll get to a thing and people will be like, all right, now is the time you need to dump, and then everyone on the team kind of just has that same thought at the exact same time, and then you just all appear at the same base. And that's something that a lot of the really good teams have. And I feel like their instincts are just not going to be quite in sync with those things.
Right.
So they're going to have to really work on their communication and teamwork and relying on those things and just getting used to playing with each other, to be honest. They've been, training superstars and getting very good at their solo skills, but we haven't had a huge amount of teams practice with them.
Yeah.
So it's been, they're gonna have to pick up a lot in the first couple of days.
And for you, who would you say is the standout player for these guys? Who's going to be leading the charge?
Well, Arbel is someone that I have been he was on my second Nats team. He was the captain of that back in 2008. So that's 15 years ago. More than
that math checks out.
He's he's been playing. He's got a bit of experience, shall we say? Old Master Arbel.
Master Arbel, true. Marble. I feel like the idea of Arbel has always been a very very, very competent pack on pack player. I mean, winning Masters in the more recent years is definitely a feat when there's some pretty damn good players in Masters nowadays. So I feel like Arbel's gonna if Arbel hasn't been to any of the pre-nats yet, has he? Or has he been to one? Did he go to one?
Believe so.
I don't believe Arbel's been to any of the pre-nats yet. No.
Yeah. So I feel like if Arbel can really adjust to the H2 quickly, I think he's going to be absolutely just like causing a ruckus down in the down in these lower tier games. Yeah, very very competent player. So I would have to agree with you on that one for a stand-up player. Sega, have you got anything you'd like to add about WA Paradox?
Look, I think being a relatively new team and especially a new captain for a Nats is huge. Like we have seen a couple of first year captains this year alone, but I think towards the from 30th to 18th, we've also got straight double elimination games in System D. So some teams that you'd expect might be able to climb, probably, they might have copped a second in one game to get color preference for the next one or what have you. There is none of that. So from 30th to 18th, double elim, you might see a lot of these fresher teams getting knocked out a lot earlier than obviously anyone would like.
But to counter on that, I also feel like a lot of these teams will be throwing a lot of those unexpected strategies out there, so you will actually get a couple of upsets through those things, just because you get that one game one and done. People who don't have the reactions to those weird things and don't come up with those things, because that can absolutely win or lose games for you.
100%. Simi in the chat shouted out Phoenix, been doing very well at training. Can you, before we wrap up Paradox, what can you tell us about these new players, not Basilisk and Phoenix? Obviously, not Basilisk stepping up to captain a team on their first year is it's really cool to see.
Yeah, she's been really good at like just getting has really stepped up into that captaining role there. I was acting captain a couple of times while Rogue was away on FIFO work for our qualifying tournament, and not Basilisk just like absolutely got in there and has been doing a really good job of like leading the team from a paper perspective. It's just been doing an absolutely fantastic job and has been absorbing, and in fact both not Basilisk and Phoenix have been just absorbing everything.
Like sponges.
Yeah, absolutely. ZLTAC sponges. They've just been like absorbing and learning and growing so much as players as well. And Keiki Z and Jet, of course, huge amounts of ZLTAC experience, been playing, basically that whole time. I forget when it was that Cake was last at a Nats.
It's been a while, right?
Yeah. And of course, Ash as well, who isn't from WA, has been put on that team as a spare allocation as well. But she's also got a lot of experience as well.
Anything else we'd like to add before we move on to our 29th place team?
Nothing from me.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you for your insights on the WA Paradox, Drake.
Yeah,
best of luck to those guys.
Yeah.
And
I hope they don't. I absolutely hope they don't get 30th, because WA has never won a wooden spoon.
Really?
Yep.
Oh. Wow. No pressure, guys. No pressure. Moving on to our 29th place team. We have WA Tanks.
Wowee.
Yeah. So I had them in 29th. I really should. Hold on. I'm going to do this. Instead of scrolling up and down. There we go. That's why I put that there. I had them in 29th. Runt had them God knows where, because the way I'm doing this is silly and I won't be doing it this way again. Drake had them in 29th. And then... No, they didn't. Drake had them elsewhere. And then the final one was 29th. My goodness, this is a mess. And I'm all for it. Drake, I should probably say who's on the team as well, shouldn't I? On the team, we have Dorky, Gaza, and then first-year players, Watto, VB Longneck, Shania How do you say that? Renee? Shania Renee?
Renee 7.
7. And then Noobs 316. So I think, of note, pretty sure VB Longneck and Watto have been to 1 or 2 pre-nuts, right?
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, I'll get you to talk about these guys first again, Drake, since they're your brethren.
Yeah.
Yeah. What strengths does this team have?
This is like they're way out of order with this one. I've got them, about 5 spots higher than this, I think. Tanks were I think they were the team that were taking games off us during our qualifying tournament. Watto VB Longneck and Noobs are very, very strong players as well. So just because they got a little star next to them does not mean that they are weak by any means at all. Shania has been, equally as much with Not Basilisk and Phoenix has been, absorbing a huge amount through this. Again, like she's been playing for quite a while, but just hasn't managed to make it over to a Nats. And yeah, it's actually really exciting to see Shania coming over. But of course, we've got Dorky and Gaza. Two boys. Yeah, exactly. Two extremely good players. Gaza, of course, will be, is one of the main Cowboys, just able to get into these bases and just absolutely take it. Like, I would be surprised if Gaza is not getting most bases in, especially in the lower end games. There.
Yeah. I think whilst we're talking about Gaza, we'll skip the weaknesses. Talk about who your standout player is. For me, it would have to be Gaza, just because we've all seen what Gaza's capable of. Since he started started coming to ZLTAC 2017, he's always been a super, super strong player and is consistently putting up big numbers, getting lots of bases and stuff. So for him, obviously predicted second to last. They very well could be higher, but even just like in anywhere in the bottom 15, I would fully expect Gaza to be getting some pretty nuts scores. But what do you reckon, Jake?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I would not be surprised if you saw Gaza up in maybe top 15 of the solo ladder after the Cascade games. Like that would not surprise me at all.
Yeah. Top 5. Why not?
Yeah, perhaps. Put him up there. It's a bit hard to say with a lot of things there. Also, Runt exists.
Who's that guy? I haven't heard of him.
No, exactly. Well, you're
Is
in
he
for
any
a
good?
treat. You're in for a shock then.
A shock. An aftershock.
Yeah, that's it.
Anyway, I'll shut up now. Drake, could you point out what do you think this team will be struggling with at where are we going? ZLTAC at Nats.
Hobart.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, so again, I feel like these guys have really, really good pack skills, solo skills, but they can get a little bit flustered under pressure, or will be making calls that they're each individually making calls which are good, but they're making different calls, so that's not quite syncing up in that way.
You'd rather have 5 average players making the same decision as a collective than 5 really good players all making different decisions, right?
Yeah, exactly. Or it doesn't matter if you're not making the best perfect decision, as long as all of you do it, then it's you stick to it. But yeah. I feel like it's a bit of a chaotic team, I think. I think it's a good way to do it. But also from I didn't make it over to Hobart. I didn't get a chance to check out the arena myself, but from watching so much of it and commentating it, I feel like these bases are going to play out to the tank's strengths as well, because a couple of them are just going to show up at a base at the same time and then take it and leave,
Yeah.
And that's how this arena feels like it's going to play.
There was a lot of that. A lot of no one at my base, no one at my base, no one at my base, 3 people at my base. Base gone. Okay.
Base gone. Bye. See you later.
I'll go get their base because there's a lot of them. Oh, they're home already. All right.
Yeah, exactly.
No worries. You can have that. Get one later. Yeah, Sega, did you have anything else you wanted to add about the War tanks?
Look, I did notice that Stinky actually put in the chat that he said that VB Longneck is Runt reincarnated. I thought that was quite amusing. So I'll be interested to see how those skills transfer at Nats. But look, I had a note that like just watching Gaza from Nats last year, he was just pulling insane like 14, 15k scores. So I wouldn't be surprised if he was in the top 15 again. If this is the sort of if this is where they do end up. So.
Yeah. Well, we might have WA tanks might be climbing quite a bit from their predictions, if based on what Drake's been saying. But that's up to them, and we'll see how they do. Anything else we'd like to add about WA tanks before we move on to 28th?
I sure as heck hope that the first game of finals is not 2 WA teams.
Yeah, that'd be upsetting for what you were saying before. Well, yeah, obviously these are only predictions. Anything can happen by the time we get to nationals, right? And especially this year when there's more variables at play than have been previously, I feel.
For sure.
Alrighty. So, best of luck to the WA tanks. Looking forward to seeing how you go. Seeing maybe Gaza can try and push for a high like a record for the high score or something. That'd be cool.
Yeah. Thanks, tanks.
28th, we have the Falcons. So I had them at 28th. Runt had them God knows where. Sega had them in 29th. Drake had them in 30th. Community had them God knows where. We'll find out in a moment. Getting the final predictions of 2028. On the team, we have Nickel making a well, I mean, he was back last year, but he came in halfway through, so I feel like he kind of slid under the radar. That guy, Gigantor, who's moved from WA to Canberra. Yep. Sauron, Cornetto, and Angel. Is this the same Angel that played on Hendra Hurricanes in 2020? Is this the same one?
I think so.
Does anyone know in the chat? Let us know.
Not sure. I haven't been following.
No, Holmes. Oh, it's Annie.
Yeah.
Right.
Cool. Good.
No worries.
Different Angel.
Angel.
Falcons. Well, I don't know.
Do you want me to take the lead on this one, Holmes?
Yeah, go on. So tell me a little bit about what you expect the strengths of this team to be.
So I think straight up, I've definitely stepped up with this prediction. Going over to Canberra recently to play a Canberra comp, get out of Hobart and just, stretch the legs a little bit. Seeing Nickel and Angel and that guy and Gigantor as well, these are very capable players and this is a very capable team. But genuinely, I could see these guys easily 5-6 places higher than what they are now. But yeah, time will tell. But they actually placed quite well at the Canberra comp that we were just at. So
yeah, right. And then what can you tell us a little bit about how they played strategically? Because obviously Dragons are very well known for being pretty chaotic, lots of going out with big numbers and doing strange stuff. Did the Falcons kind of mirror that, or did they kind of have their own personality in terms of their play style?
They definitely had their own personality. What I did take away from this comp is actually the their defense was actually quite strong. They had a solid defense, and they sort of planned their strategies around that. From what I could tell, it was a very short 1 day comp, so didn't really get a whole lot out of them. But yeah, what I did notice was solid defense, and I reckon you'll see Nickel just rocking up and taking bases and just running off. So.
Cool. And what you say a heavy, like a focus on their defense. Was it like a heavy defense with like 4 or 5, or was it just their standard 3 defense was really good?
It was just a standard three-man defense, and it was a good, strong 3-man. So,
well, that'll serve them well because I feel like the balance of having a really strong defense and having that 1 or 2 players that can just get a base, at any point in a game is that seems like the juicy spot, or what you really want for a Hobart game, because they do tend to play, or at least if the pre-nuts is anything to go by, pretty defensively, with not very many bases going down unless the game gets like opened up because someone does something drastic. Who would be your, based on playing that Canberra comp or anything else, who's going to be your standout player for the Falcons, Sega?
Look, probably just looking at the team, it'd have to either be Nickel or even that guy. Annie, I believe, was playing a fair bit of last line, and she was insane on that last line, just super responsive to calls. But just watching Nickel play, he's incredible. So
cool. Nickel's back to form. Obviously, he went on a bit of a hiatus, so it's cool to hear that he's come back and is putting up some some good stuff. Drake, have you got anything you would like to add about the Falcons before we move on?
Yeah, I was just going to add in on like your comment about Canberra and Dragons especially being pretty chaotic. I feel like Nickel is probably one of their least chaotic players.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that actually checks out about them playing a fairly like well-structured game built out of defense. I feel like that is going to track. Gigantor or Giganator as well is, again, pretty good player, but he's got one thing that is super, super handy, and his height. He's extremely tall, extremely long, and just the ability to be able to, make those massive snapshots. God, I wish I had that.
How tall is he? Do you know how tall he is in whatever metric?
I don't know.
He's 6'10".
Oh my goodness!
Wow,
that's crazy.
I was going to say 3.5 meters, but it's close.
Also correct.
Yeah. Feels
how.
Like
Surely he'd have to be the tallest player we've ever seen, right?
Maybe not ever, but definitely one of them.
Oh my goodness. I've never seen anyone taller than Gigantor, so but
in my life,
it's all about it's not about the size, it's how you use it. So I think having really long arms, I think, is really good on H2 when you're lunging out people in the last line position more than it used to be, because a lot of the time what you want to do, whether you're a last line or like you're an attacker shooting a base and you're in a last line position, right? Same skill set, you're just shooting a base as well. What you want to do on H2 is see people lunge in, let them shoot, and then you shoot afterwards. But I mean, if their arms are long enough that they're they're pretty much reaching you from the baseline, you kind of have to shoot them straight away, which will mean, I think, if Gigantor can get really good at hitting the phases, the combination of those two things will be pretty nasty. I'm excited to see how he goes with that. Did you guys have anything else you'd like to add about the Falcons before we move on to 27?
I definitely think that you don't underestimate this team when you go up against them.
Yeah. Maybe these predictions are going to do them a favor because teams are going to look. Because naturally, everyone will look at the LSA predictions as their first port of call for, I need to know how good this team is, right?
Yeah, this is fact. Yeah.
Naturally, it's pretty much fact. Teams will look at that and they'll go, "Oh, these Falcons guys are pretty low. We don't have to worry about them." And then suddenly Falcons come out and go like, psh, psh. So maybe we're just doing them a favor, but who knows? I'm looking forward to seeing the Falcons go. Keen to see Nickel back and able to do a full Nationals this time, not just half of one.
Keen to see Nickelback.
I love Nickelback. Everyone was saying that at Bendigo Nationals as well. Everyone was saying Nickelback. Cool. Best of luck to Falcons. Moving on. Yeah. 27th place team. We have spare parts. So I think this was one of the teams that almost everyone had the same, except the community had them in 29th place. So if we scroll on over here, give everyone motion sickness. On spare parts, we have Master Guardian, Nessica, Ninja, Celtic, Striker, and Skull One. So if it wasn't obvious, this is the spares team. Pretty much all the players that wanted to go to Nationals weren't able to get on a team, and so they've gone and spare parts. Very good name. I think I'm happy to talk about these guys because
please.
I'll skip the queue a bit. Looking at this team, it's kind of hard to look past Ninja as the standout player. Obviously, he didn't play Bendigo Nats, but in all the years before that, he's been either a finals contender or in the finals for the last few years. So him being on a team this far down on the predicted ladder at the very least, I fully expect him to be, as we were saying with like Gaza, probably definitely in the top 10 on the solo ladder. I wouldn't be surprised if he's like top 5, top 3. Ninja has been training at home. He will just slot into whatever team needs an extra player that night. He's been training every week, twice a week, because we've been doing Sunday trainings as well. We were even doing drills at league, so arguably 3 times a week.
Nice.
He's been training hard. He does want to, wants to see how far he can push this team, and I don't think Ninja's in the same form he has been in years previous, but he's been playing pretty well. He's been doing very well. There's definitely been a few moments of training where there'll be just a classic Ninja moment, and he just shoots 5 people in an area, and then he shoots 5 people, those 5 people again. He's very good at knowing the sequence and remembering when people are going to activate. That's one of his strongest skills, I think. So there's been a few times where I'm like, damn, this guy's still got it. Pretty good. But obviously one of the big challenges for this team, if I look at the roster, will be they're all from different areas. Their first time playing together will be, some unallocated training. Ninja was actually telling me that the hours he was able to get for his team, he's the only one there for the first couple hours that they were able to get. So it's just him, and then the rest rock up the day after or something. So even that's cutting into their time together. But I mean, yeah, I could very easily see this team slipping into that wooden spoon game. If for nothing else other than the fact that they will have no training together, outside of a tiny bit of unallocated training and allocated training. And then I mean, arguably round robin, Cascade 1, Cascade 2 is all training as well. And the only thing that matters is the last day, right? But yeah, I think in terms of things that will hold this team back, the glaring obvious one is just not being able to play together. But Ninja has been known to pull together teams before. I think from memory, his 2018 team, Vanquish, was a team of, handful of new players. I believe that was Link's first year, Gypsy or Karai. And they weren't expected to do super well, around the mid tier. And then they were breaking into the top tier I'm pretty sure they might have even been in a golden game as well.
I think they just missed out.
Or they just missed on the game to get into the golden game. But I mean, they were right there.
Yeah.
So Ninja does have a history of being able to pull together a group of people that are like a little bit newer, or just just a team you wouldn't expect to be so high. So my placing them not in that wooden spoon game was just purely based on that. Obviously, like the players on this team, like everyone here has been to a nationals before. Guardian and Nessica have been around for a very long time. I think Celtic's quite and Skull One are both like old school players as well. So there's plenty of like experience, but it's just whether they can pull it all together. Do you guys have anything you'd like to add about spare parts?
I think, yeah, you guys have pretty much touched on everything. The only thing that I will say is if anyone wants to hold H2 in Rifleman, they're going to get punished. So,
yeah.
True. That's very true.
Yep.
Could tag that down that barrel. Drake, you got anything to add, or do you feel we've it's kind of hard to talk about this, talk about a mixed team, right?
Yeah, I think you've pretty much nailed it there. I just want to call out that we've got another WA player. So we've had WA players in each of the bottom 4 teams. Another former WA player with Ninja, but that is what it is. Yeah, I reckon you've nailed it there. Like, these guys are like they're all good players. They're all competent enough players, but as we were saying with a couple of those other teams there, it's going to be a matter of like that cohesion. And that's a pretty hard thing to pick up, especially with the small amount of time that they're going to have together. And yes, the first couple of days of the comp, or first week and a half of the comp, doesn't really matter as much as the finals day, but getting that far behind on points can, especially in a round robin, there can be really, really harmful.
Yeah, for sure. I think one last little interesting thing is I feel like all of the teams we've gone through so far have like that one player that like has no business being down here. You know what I mean? This would be interesting. It might be that'll be an interesting little battle, like of all the star players on the teams. Duking it out in the middle of the arena.
Yeah, the 3 of them are going to meet in the middle and just like toss a coin or something like that.
Yeah.
3-sided coin. Yeah.
How else would you decide it?
Exactly. Lord of the Rings.
All right. Lord of the Rings. That's always a good time. Until some bloody sniper comes in and ruins it.
Yeah.
Read the room, guys. All right. We'll move on to our 26th place team. We have, drum roll, New Zealand Raptors. Sega, I'll get you to talk about these guys since you went to the invitationals, or the New Zealand invite, sorry. Mm-hmm. But on the team, we have Trader, Dika, or I think that's how you pronounce it.
Dika, yep.
T_T, Insomnia, and geez, these New Zealand guys need to make their names easier to pronounce. Zygoriza. I don't know.
Yeah, look, so realistically, this team didn't play together at invitationals. They were all part of different teams, sort of mixed together. So Trader will be captaining this year. And the cool thing about Trader is he's been playing invitationals for about 6 years, but has never made it to a Nats. So, and the other thing about this team is they've got H2 at home. So whether or how that translates into Hobart will be interesting. Being a first year nationals captain for Trader and also having H2 kind of, it's sort of this chemical imbalance. I guess is you're good with one thing but not so much the other, I guess. So I think a lot of their experience will depend on what they've been able to see at home, not so much, and sort of adapt that to Nats, I guess.
Yeah. I think in terms of strengths for this team, I think you already touched on it, but this is a full Dunedin team, and Dunedin has had under the radar had Helios 2 longer than literally everyone else. They've been on it for like what you said 2 years before.
At least, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's why I'm pretty sure I had them. Yeah, I had them without the H2 experience. I probably would have put this team in the wooden spoon. But with the H2 experience and just knowing how massive the transition is from anything to Helios 2, I feel like that is going to be a massive asset for this team. And just them not having to focus so much on getting used to Helios 2, they could put all of their attention to getting used to the arena. So that'd be my recommendation for these guys is, ideally you should be on the packs better than pretty much everyone around you on the ladder. So it makes sense for you to be able to try and spend more time and develop more in the strategy bit, and just like the little bits, like how you want to set up your defense and the all those little 1%ers. If they can focus on that, this team will be able to retain this position. But the other thing to bear in mind is this isn't a pre-nats. This isn't a 2-day comp where everyone else barely has time to get used to the system. By the time we get to the last day, pretty much everyone will be like pretty good on the packs, right? So that advantage they have on the packs is going to deteriorate throughout the course of the tournament. But the pack advantage goes like this. But if they can make their strategy go like this, then they can do well. But that was my analysis for this team. It was a really hard team to predict, but that's why I had them there. Sega, what would you say are some of the obvious weaknesses for this team going into Nats? Things that are gonna maybe bite them in the ass, things they'll struggle with.
Yeah, look, I think I sort of touched on it before, and that was purely just minimal Nats experience because obviously Invitationals is played on world settings. This is played on Nats settings. Just trying to adapt strategies to a different set, a different format can chop and change things.
Yeah.
I do know that Popeyes has taken Trader under his wing and sort of shown him the ropes, for a lack of a better term. But so I hope that Popeyes has been able to impart his wisdom to Trader and sort of give him a leg up in that aspect.
And I think something you alluded to before. So this is Trader's first Nats, but he's been playing like a pretty long time. And he's been to like all of the invites for years and years. So he's going to be one of those players where people look at them and they see the star and they go, "Oh, it's a new guy." But I think he's going to catch a lot of people by surprise, especially given that he's had Helios 2 for quite a few years now as well. So, Drake, have you got anything you would like to add to this team?
Like literally just to reiterate what you guys said. I'm actually really looking forward to meeting a lot of these people. I've commentated on the invitationals for like a couple of times now, a couple of times back to back, and a lot of the names are really familiar, but they are just names to me. So I'm looking forward to putting faces to those names as well.
Yeah, 100%. Don't be shy. Don't be shy, guys. Sega, I'll let you finish off with your standout player for this team before we move on to 25th place.
Yeah, look, I keep on hearkening it back to Trader, and I do reckon he will impress. Definitely probably top 50 players by the end of this comp. So, yeah, just look out for him. 6 years worth of ZLTAC experience is nothing to scoff at. So,
100%. Well, best of luck to the New Zealand Raptors. One of the teams I'm really looking forward to see, especially just given like we haven't seen much of our New Zealand buddies in the last few years because of COVID and stuff. So
looking forward to it.
Very much looking forward to it. In 25th place, we have Void. Let me fix this up. Oh, these are all the wrong color. There we go. We have Void. How they're this low? Where we have? Oh yeah, we had Drake had them in 28th. The community had them in 27th, and then myself, Runt, and Sega had them a little bit higher. Also, if you're wondering why Runt's predictions are included in here, is because he's going to be joining us for the top 15 one, and I just got everyone to do all 30 of their team predictions to be included. Because I figured the more the merrier. Yes. Again, I understand the way I've decided to go about revealing things this time. Makes 0 sense.
It's fine.
But lessons learned, guys. That's what life's about. But on Void, we have Mum, Carton, Queenie, Ems, Tomo, Stingray, and Ghibli. Stingray making a return. That's very exciting.
Yeah.
What place was it? 25th, right? Yeah, 25th. I should be. Yeah, I'm writing these as we go. Cool. I don't know. Who wants to talk about Void first?
Look, there is a Hobart player on Void, so I'm happy to take the reign on that one.
Yep.
Really? Oh, is it Tomo?
Yes. So Tomo used to be a Hobart player. Now we've also got Mum, who's been playing it for a little while. Stingray obviously been playing for a little while. Ghibli, Ems, which is a new player, but so she attended the last pre-nats and also the Canberra comp, and honestly, she's insane as well. So yeah, look, this team. Mixed with, like Queensland experience and Tomo's Maze experience, I think these guys should actually climb a few spots higher than what they're predicted here.
Yeah, and I mean, I think this is the lowest we've ever seen, like in recent years, a Queensland team predicted.
Yep.
Realistically, they'll probably could definitely climb top 10. They could definitely climb a few spots. True. They're just a raw. Yeah. I guess I actually haven't seen a lot of any of these players, if I'm honest, because when Stingray was playing, he was, on blue steel towards the top end, and I was on bottom teams, and then I've come up, and then he's like not been playing the last few years. I haven't had the opportunity to play against a lot of these players very often, but I don't know. Can either of you guys speak to what you would expect the strengths of this team to be? I would like to point out only Ems, Tomo, and Ghibli will have any H2 experience and any Hobart experience. But have you guys got, I don't know, anything you'd like to say about their strengths or weaknesses? Or Queenie's in the chat. She's very, very good at the chat. You tell us, Queenie, in the chat. You tell me.
Queenie's always in the chat. Like, it's so awesome seeing Queenie in the chat almost every single stream that we do. Almost literally every single time that I'm commentating or doing something with ZLTAC, Queenie's in the chat. So, definitely a big fan of ZLTAC community content. Queenie's always about community involvement. Yeah, exactly. From the Queen herself.
So I think something I'd like to point out is Mum is listed as the captain, but I would be surprised to not see Stingray kind of leading the team. In terms of a standout player, Stingray definitely stands out. He's been in a finals at least once. I can't speak to earlier years, but he was on Blue Steel when they made their finals appearance in 2017. So again, as we were saying before, in these bottom teams, there's just players that have no right playing, this low. So my expectation, maybe Queenie can correct me if I'm wrong, but I would be expecting Stingray to be leading the charge in these games. And he's again talking about how Hobart has been playing one of those players that could very well. Spartans 2019. Thank you, boys. Also, yeah, Spartans. I mean, this guy's
of course.
This guy's good. I could very well see him being, able to, when the game start off really defensively, being one of the players that is the first one to get the base. And now the onus is on the other two teams to start opening up and getting bases, and that opens opportunities for you. So I'm very much looking forward to see how Stingray goes. And then also, like, a lot of good players, but we've seen really good players in the past that really struggle to transition when we go to a new system. So it's all kind of hinges on how well Stingers is able to pick up H2. But I mean, guys are really good. Guys are really good. So you would expect him to. Yeah. Do you guys have anything you'd like to add about Void before we move on?
Yeah, look, honestly, Ems, Tomo, Ghibli, like the whole team honestly looks good on paper. I reckon they'll have some strong attacks coming from Stingray, and I just reckon if Tomo can show them where to pack from and how to hold a base a little bit better, yeah, I reckon they will definitely climb quite a few spaces.
Queenie would like some words of encouragement, boys, before we move on.
Definitely. Yeah, Queenie, like you and Void, you guys, and I've kind of been meaning to say this about almost all of the last few teams that we've spoken about. It's really hard to predict any of these things. Like, I feel like every single team that we've spoken about should be higher up in the ladder. And it's such a weird thing to say. It'd be like, no, this team isn't ranked this low on the list, but when every team is this good, it's just crazy. Like, it's so hard to make these kind of calls, and these guys will absolutely be taking games off, top 20, top 15, top 10 teams as well. Like, that's not. It's I don't see that being surprising almost.
Yeah, I think, like as you were saying, Drake, a lot of these teams are maybe lower than we would expect them, but I think that just speaks to the caliber of all the teams above, right? Like I feel like the bottom 15 was actually really hard to do. In fact, just the whole thing was hard to do, if I'm honest. There's just so many things getting like shaken up this year with H2 and stuff. But Queenie, some encouragement. You go, Queen. Go get that's all I have to say.
Yeah, you got this, buddy.
Have you got anything to add, Sega, before we move on to 24th?
Look, as I said to you, Holmes, when I was trying to put my my 30th to 15th together, honestly, some of these teams you could have rolled a couple of dice for, and I 100% expect this to chop and change so much. It's not going to be funny. So, yeah.
We'll see what happens, huh? Best of luck to Void. Looking forward to seeing Stingers back in action. And, yeah. Remove red on the thing. Yes. Removing red. Because people said they can't see it. In 24th place, we have the Quackening. So I had them in 25th. Runt had them in 24th. Sega had them in 26th. Drake had them in 26th. And the community actually had them higher up. God knows where. There? No. There? No. There? No. They had them in
there.
Whatever that is.
Whatever that is.
God.
20th.
I'm awful. Thanks. On the Quackening, we have the BMW, Plank, Stinky, Tech Deck 205, _205, Elmo, and Commander Snake. Quick shout out to Commander Snake. He came to an Adelaide training like a week or two ago.
Nice.
He was in Adelaide for a little bit. And so we trained Sunday and Monday night, and he was going to be there for the Sunday and Monday night. The Monday is when we do our big training, like our team's training. The Sunday is like a little bit more low-key, just drills. Of course, the 1 week that Commander Snake comes and visits Adelaide is the week that we have like a scouts booking during training. So he wasn't able to join us for team games, but he was able to do drills with us. And it happened like everything was going wrong that night, tech-wise. So he probably thinks Adelaide's just an absolute shambles. I promise it's better than that normally. But yeah, Drake, I'll let you talk about these guys. What would you say this team's strengths are going into ZLTAC 2023?
Yeah, honestly, while we're talking about it, Commander Snake, like, is very, very good. Um, he's absolutely been smashing it through and getting so many bases off us in ways that I'm just like, how do you keep doing this, Snake? I'll just be solidly defending an area or something like that, and he'll just appear and take a base and be like, come on, man, you have to every time, every
It's
time.
messed up.
So yeah, I definitely think Snake is going to be one of the standout players on this team. Stinky as well. Both of them are playing some real good laser tag. Um, uh, Plank as well. Like, he's undisciplined, I think, is probably a good way to say that. Um, again, able to get in and get the bases, but can be a bit of a cowboy doing that. But of course, the BMW, massive amount of experience. Elmo as well. Elmo caught Wax's eye at pre-nats, says Simi. I won't go there. Elmo's caught many a person's eye. As
Just
former,
a cool dude.
yeah, that's it. Yeah, he played on my team back in 2020 as well. It was very, very good asset there. And yeah, like, again, this is gonna be a pretty solid team. I feel like these guys are gonna have a lot more of the teamwork than something like the WA Tanks, for example. But I feel like on individual skill, I think that the Tanks would have them. They were kind of trading games a lot of the time during qualifying tournaments, and I'm pretty sure the Tanks end up finishing above Quackening on
Interesting.
that. Pretty sure, I can't remember, but it was close enough. But that was also playing in our arenas where like that people have got a lot different levels of experience in them. Oh,
You all good?
Simi says they didn't come close. They lost 2 games to them. Oh, okay. So Quackening did get second by a considerable amount. Tanks got third, lost 2 games.
Interesting. One moment. Is Plank the dude at Bendigo that was like
The fast one that was running and not a
like
not
that?
yeah.
Is that Plank? I remember that guy.
Yes.
I wasn't there, but I can guarantee you, if you're talking about someone sprinting into bases and being, way too fast for things, it's probably Plank.
Interesting. Man, little zoomy boy.
Small
I
zoomy
respect
boy.
it. I love it. If you're not playing on tiptoeing on the line or too fast, then you're not trying hard enough, I reckon. Simi's saying you're confusing the teams, Drake. I don't know what's going on. But would you like to tell us who your standout player for the team is?
I mean, I've already said that, haven't I? Commander Snake. It's just
Commander
a hero.
Snake. Yeah. So it's that one Sunday night of Adelaide training really paid off, didn't it?
Yeah, that's definitely what it is.
I thought so.
Not even getting to play teams games.
True. Well, I mean, it's nothing different to what you normally have in WA, right? That's what you were saying before. Not much team games.
Yeah. Well, not a lot of the training games. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. If you, I don't know. Do you have any last bits you'd like to say about the Quackening, Drake?
Oh, poor Quackening. They took 2 games off us. All right. So it was Quackening were the ones that took games off us.
Ah.
That's right. Yeah. Look, as I said, like, they were getting in and getting a bunch of my bases when they really should not have been. But whatever. Good job to them.
Kudos to the
Junior's going to be wild.
Oh yeah, who from this team will be in juniors?
I think Snake. I think Tech Deck. Maybe, and Stinky. Simi, you're gonna have to Call me out. Oh, none of them. All right.
None of them. Drake, I thought you were supposed to play with these guys, mate.
Man, they're new to me. They're young. They're young to me.
That's so
God.
good.
Tech Deck started playing. He was coming down to League when I was working there. Like, he was coming down with his dad. I think Tech Deck started playing at League when he was like 10, 12, something
Yeah,
like that.
mental.
Like, he is now probably literally twice the height than he was when he first started playing.
Naturally. Good on him.
Ewan washed up, yeah, 100%.
Well, before we move on, Sega, have you got anything you'd like to add about the Quackening?
Yeah, it's really good to see them back again this year with, I believe, the same lineup as last year. I just going up against them in a lot of our Ascension games, seeing BMW, Plank, Tech Deck, Stinky, and Commander Snake. Like this team is actually quite well rounded. I actually put a note down here where I'm expecting Plank, if they let him off the leash again, he could very well pick up another 15k game, because that seems to be what was happening in Bendigo. Just let Plank go pick up 2 bases, 15k, and just maybe come home. But that was the problem, is that he would pick up 15k and not come home. So
Interesting.
Yeah, so Snake's just mentioned that in the chat, that Snake did get 3rd in juniors last year as well.
True.
So
Goated.
congrats, Snake.
Ah. Well, yeah, I don't know. Like Sega said, I feel like this is a pretty good, well-rounded team. You know, a bunch of them have been to pre-nats, gotten some exposure to H2, so I think that's gonna do well for this team. Looking forward to seeing how they go, and seeing that Adelaide train and pay off for Commander Snake. We'll move on to our 23rd place team. We're at the halfway point. Aegis. So where did I have them? I had them elsewhere. Runt had them in 25th. Sega had them 25th. Drake had them 25th. Community had them higher, which netted them a final prediction of 23rd. Where are they on my list? I'm hopeless. I don't even arrange these guys in like this in any order. It's literally just random. I'm hopeless.
Community had them in 21st.
Thank you. On the team, we have Wolfie, Wardy, The Wall, Pendragon, SSG, Pogsley, and Stonk. So Wolfie, Wardy, Wall, SSG, and Pogsley were all on the Aegis team that came 16th last year. They have picked up Pendragon, who played on Anomaly. They finished 21st. And then Stonk is SSG's twin sister. So I guess in terms of strengths for this team, they've been one of the teams in Adelaide that they've been, in terms of how much they're training, it's been a lot. So they usually have good numbers on our Monday night team games. They've been having, a good amount of their team coming to our Sunday night drills training, but then also they've been playing on the Thursday night. We have a second site. It's about an hour's drive away, but a group of them have been training and playing on the Thursday night there as well. So they've been playing a lot. They've been training hard, trying out new stuff. In terms of strengths for this team, I think again, the also like 4 of these players, I think Wardy, Pendragon, SSG, and maybe someone else. I can't quite remember. We're at pre-nuts too, so they do have some experience in Hobart and on H2 within the team. As we were saying before, the Hobart, at least how the strategy and the meta seem to be playing out in Hobart over the course of the pre-natses of like very heavy defenses, and then that 1 or 2 players being able to pick up 1 or 2 bases, and that can open the game and everything going from there. I think that'll suit Aegis pretty well. I think they've got good comms. Their defense is pretty solid. And then with players like Wardy, he's very good at cracking open bases. Even at home, we'll have an aftershock, 3 or 4 man defense, and Wardy comes in and goes, shoots a bunch of people, and he has a base. I'm like, oh, sick. We shouldn't have dropped that, but we did. So kudos to Wardy. I think that will play very much to this team's strengths. And that's why I had them rated up a little bit higher. But in terms of weaknesses, I don't know. I think it'll be in the games that really break open, and start to devolve to chaos and stuff. They might struggle to stay on top of it. When it comes to like a base race, being able to get everyone on the team, all of their bases and stuff. But that wasn't happening very much in Hobart anyway. And also, it's not to say that they can't do that. I think if I was just to hazard a guess at any type of game that would suit them less, it would be those really chaotic ones and stuff. But they may prove me wrong. And I think coming 16th place last year in Bendigo, I think they had one of the biggest climbs of all the teams at the tournament. The roster is pretty much the same for the most part. I think the only person missing is Benny. I think Benny's swapped for Pendragon. And there might be one other person I'm missing that I'm forgetting that I shouldn't have because I suck. But anyway, standout player for me would be, I don't know. I think it would have to be Wardy. He's going to be at the forefront of the team. I expect him to be the one getting a lot of bases, getting a lot of field points. Yeah, I think something I'll highlight as well is Stonk. So SSG's twin sister has been playing a lot of attack. So kudos to her. She's been, it's hard like learning to attack as a newer player, and the defenses you're coming up against is like Apex and Aftershock over there. That's always going to be really difficult. But I think that'll end up paying dividends once they get 2 nationals, and then suddenly the team's defenses they're coming up against aren't, arguably top tier teams. I would like to think. But yeah, they've been training hard, and I'm looking forward to seeing the culmination of that at nationals. Have you guys got anything you would like to add?
Just to touch on their climb last year, Holmes. They just went boom, just out of nowhere. I think they really did sort of capitalize on the chaos. I guess, and they were able to make it work for them, and that they just climbed, and we might very well see that again this year. So fingers crossed.
I hope so.
Yeah, Drake, have you got anything you'd like to add?
No, I think like you've definitely got the experience on that one there, and got the know about this, but
you'd hope so.
Yeah, but Aegis have just always been such a solid defensive team as well. Named after a shield, like they've always been just a real tough nut to crack. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Wolfie has been taking a more defensive role on this team. And someone pointed out Wolfie was on Anomaly last year, not Aegis. So there's been a couple roster changes. But Wolfie's been kind of taking not a backseat, but like playing a more defensive role on the team, which I think has really it's good to see him really rounding out his skill set in terms of the positions he plays and stuff. Now, obviously, Wolfie traditionally has always been the player to go out and he'll get his bases and stuff and get like decent pack and things. But now that he's been playing a lot of defense, and being like that floaty door defender pushing up to help your attack get bases, I think that'll be really good for this team. And I think that's something we see a lot is players that start off attacking, and then when they transition to defense, they become really good, like door defenders, specifically like floating out to get field points and helping your, like almost becoming like a pseudo third to your attack from like far away. Which again, I think is really important in Hobart. So I'm looking forward to see how Wardy goes. But Yeah, do we have anything to add to Aegis before we move on, guys?
No, just to reiterate that last comment there, that having attackers playing on the outside of your doors, they're pretty interchangeable skills there as well. Because
as long as they come.
yeah, exactly. That's the most important thing. And these guys have comms as well, so they're going to be able to make those. You're going to be able to make those calls and be able to work well as a team.
I think a strength of Adelaide in the last few years has definitely been our comms. Just watching like reffing and playing games against teams, I feel like I'll toot our own horn a bit. I feel like Adelaide's comms are some of the strongest, and even if the skill sets in terms of like mechanical skills of like pack on pack and stuff is different between Aegis versus like Apex or Aftershock or something, I feel like for the most part the comms across the board in Adelaide are really solid. And I think our arena kind of lends itself to that because it's a very, very small arena. If your comms aren't sharp, then, you could be chilling, no one's attacking your base, and then, like, 2 seconds later, someone's in your base and they've put shots on. So, like, the comms have to be good. So I feel like that's kind of something that we've been able to get out of playing in a smaller arena. But, yeah. Cool. Let's move on. Best of luck to Aegis. I know they can absolutely do better than 23rd, but that's up to you guys. That's the challenge for you. Moving on. Oh, thanks for clearing the placing thing. That's good.
Yeah, I figured that would just make things a little easier for us.
Do that as well. In 22nd place, we have the Darwin Dingoes. So I had them in 24th. Runt had them higher. Sega had them higher. Drake had them 23rd. Screaming had them in 22nd, which netted them final predictions of 22nd. I think Runt had them like quite a few spots up, which is what's gotten them there. But on the Darwin Dingoes, we have, where are they? There they are. Bubbles, Tricky, Battlebot, 123, Prince, Koala, and Hado. Sega, do you wanna talk about these guys?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, we came up against them a fair bit in Bendigo last year, and obviously a few roster changes, like losing Shifter and picking up Prince Koala is something. Especially knowing that Koala was on Crazy last year, and Crazy were having a few inter-team issues, I guess. So hopefully that doesn't carry over to Dingoes. But yeah, just knowing that, for instance, like Bubbles is probably going to be first out and trying to get his other players through. Tricky, he is always really good at pack on pack and just brawling as well. So look, I wasn't really sure where to place this team. I put them one higher than what's predicted here, but at one point, just based off last year's performance, I actually had them at 14th and 15th, and I sort of looked at the roster change and went, oh, maybe a little bit lower. So
yeah,
I could 100% see this team moving a lot higher, but I think it will also depend on how well Bubbles can play and push his team through.
I think of note, so we kind of said it in the chat, but Bubbles and Tricky played with the BMW, Elmo, and Worthy or Lewis on ChatGPT Presents Beam Blazers. They ended up finishing 14th out of 17 teams. So they beat Hobart Cerberus, the kind of Orcas team. Obviously, it wasn't the actual Orcas. And then Kismet, which was the Moldy, Benny, Gipley, Ems, and Crosshair team. So they were predicted to come last at Prenet 3, and they ended up, obviously jumping up 3 spots to 14th place. To talk a little bit about how they played, if Prenats 3 is anything to go off of, because I guess Bubbles, I would expect Bubbles and Tricky would have been kind of, taken a bit of a lead of that in terms of how they played. They played very defensively with bubbles going out. Pretty typical Hobart strat. I think the one thing I did notice is they didn't really pull the trigger at any point. Like even the other teams are exchanging, other teams have maybe gotten their base, but they never pulled the trigger to go out and get their own bases, even if their field points were pretty good. So if this team plays anything like the Pre-Nuts 3 team, I could see them doing quite well, but they need to be able to balance they weren't dropping many bases because they had a very heavy defense the whole game, but I think their field points might have suffered a little bit for it because it was a very conservative, even when they weren't being attacked. And then only having the one out to get bases. These bases are pretty hard to crack with one person. It's a tall task. Like a lot of the teams were only getting bases when they came with 3. So that's about all the insight I really have to give. Drake, have you got anything you'd like to add?
No, actually, again, just kind of to reiterate and add on that a little bit, that I do agree that they were just a little hesitant in pushing that extra couple of people out there just to get in those bases. And this is definitely one of the arenas where that, making that quick attack there and being able to just just be on and push in and get that base real quick and then come back there. It's going to be a really important skill for a lot of teams.
100%. Kind of talked about, I think we kind of all hinted the stand-up player we would expect for this team would be Bubbles. Traditionally, that's always been his role on the Dingoes, being their star player, guy that gets packed, guy that gets bases. Talked a bit about their weaknesses. Yeah, I guess what have you guys got anything else you'd like to add about the Darwin Dingoes before we move on to 21st place?
I think, just to add in there, I think that it's going to really matter a lot about Battlebot, Koala, and Hatto stepping up there to be able to join in and back up Bubbles with that attack. So that second and third attacker, just making that call and being able to just appear out of nowhere while Bubbles is out there as well, while having Tricky just absolutely a monster, on day and anchoring.
Yeah. Sega, you got anything you'd like to add before we move on?
Oh, no. Drake pretty much stole the words out of my mouth, so 100%
Sorry.
agree with that. No, not at all.
Yeah.
Analysis.
Now, best of luck to the Darwin Dingoes. Hopefully they're able to, if 3 is anything to go by, address kind of what I was talking about, knowing when to pull the trigger and being able to, once bases start going down, keep yourself in the game. But we'll see how you go. Now, fellas, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I scoffed some KFC before I jumped on stream, and it has run right through me. So I'm going to reveal the 21st place team, and then I'll get you guys to cover for me. This is so unprofessional. But what's more unprofessional?
We're good.
Going to the toilet or me shitting myself on stream?
Probably, yeah. Let's not go into that one too detailed.
Yeah. All right, we'll leave it at that. I think that answers itself. Right. So, in 21st place, we have Hobart Cerberus. So, I had them higher. Runt had them higher, I think. Sega had them higher. Drake had them in 21st. And then Community Predictions had them in 24th, which netted them at 21st place. Yes, Benny, it was the Seafood KFC. They suck. And no, Wax, I won't shit myself. All right. All you guys, I'll be back. All you, Sega, you should talk about them.
Yeah.
Yes. Sega. Look, Cerberus, obviously being the home team, I am really gunning for them to actually climb a lot in round robin. I could see them in the mid to low teams coming out of round robin. I think that the Ascensions games are what's going to sort of self-correct, I guess. So I can see them cracking the top 15 after round robin, and then Ascensions, they might drop a couple places. And Cascades. My apologies. So Cascades dropping, and then Ascensions, they're going to have to make the run for it. So
Yeah,
Dom, sorry.
no, just to fill in for you there. There's definitely that home team advantage that Hobart Cerberus are going to have, especially on the early. Oh my god, um, especially in the early games there, because they've got all the training there. They know exactly what's going to be happening there, and they literally are some of the people that have the most experience on H2, and obviously in this arena there. So earlier in the competition there, they're gonna do good. Just not going to address what's happening in the chat right now.
I'm trying so hard. I'm trying so hard to stay professional, but oh man, yes, okay. But no, genuinely, just to add on to that, like, whenever Archangels attempt to do something different in training, like these guys will pick up on it and they will capitalize. They've taken multiple games off of us in training. They will. We've seen them come close to Vikings in a handful of games in training as well. And just looking at some of the players, obviously Dom, first year captain, he's doing a wicked job. Whenever you see him, he's usually like quite positive. He's trying to keep the team together. Dave is, as in Captain Morgan, yeah. Look, he's the experience that the team needs. Literally everyone else on the team is first year player. And just looking at Tiger as well. Obviously, he was a big fantasy pick for PN3. And I think a lot of people were surprised at how cheap he was and how many fantasy points he was worth by the end of it. So,
yeah. All right. So, what about weaknesses on this team?
Look, in terms of weaknesses, I think it comes down to some slow responses to comms. I think is one thing. Sometimes their door defenders will die, and the attacker who's killed them will make their way to the baseline before a comm has been made.
Yep.
Which not always the greatest. Something else that they tend to do is they tend to hyper focus on like if you've got a 2-man attack that rocks up to their base, they'll hyper focus on that 2 or even a 1-man, and all of a sudden another 1-man or a 2-man from the other team will just come in and just completely sweep and pick up a very easy base because there was just no one watching the other door. So
it sounds like a lot of those are the kind of inexperience mistakes as well, and those are the kind of things that you'll absolutely pick up and improve on throughout the course of the thing as well.
Yeah. Little known fact, Rizla is my little brother, so I'm
good.
Fantasy Riz. I'm really hoping that he sort of breaks out of his shell and is able to pick up because in training, watching Tiger and Riz attack together. They'll pick up 4 bases before Archangels have 2 in some cases. So I'm really excited to hopefully see that translate.
I'm back, everyone. I survived by the skin of my teeth.
Yeah, we were not going to mention the things that were said in the chat.
Wow.
Good times.
Not my best.
Glad you survived.
But we're here. Hobart Cerberus. Something I wanted to say about Hobart Cerberus. I was tuned in on my phone, so I'm all caught up. Hobart Cerberus. I think something I want to highlight. I highlighted it in the Prenet 3 review stream about Cerberus, but in terms of a glaring weakness, something that came up was I don't know what the catalyst was for it, but in the last few games on the last day, I saw the Cerberus guys and gals just kind of at each other's throats a bit. There was lots of, yelling and not being overly nice to each other, lots of pointing fingers and blaming and things. And when that happens at day 2 at a pre-nats, cool, that was the last day, right? But at nationals, if that happens at day 2 at nationals, right? Now, like, it's really hard, like, when you have a really negative experience as a team like that, to overcome that, and that can flow into like the rest of your day, that can flow into your next day. All of a sudden this one or two bad interactions with your team can really snowball into a couple bad days, and then you have those bad days, and then that makes you more angry, and more fingers are pointed and stuff. So I think one of the things I think people maybe don't value enough is how important it is to, one, just like treat your friends, like treat your teammates like you actually like them. They're your friends. I think sometimes people get really heated and they start talking, and it's like, this person's your friend, right? Like, why would you talk to your friend like this? Obviously we all get very heated, we get passionate, and it's because we care a lot, but we can't be talking to our teammates like that, because it can snowball into just some really bad days. And at nationals, that can be the difference between a lot of positions. But that's all I wanted to add. I hope Cerberus is able to keep that on lock, because traditionally Archangels and Cerberus, I think, as I heard Sega allude to before, have always been the happy-go-lucky, woo, having fun. But just keep tabs on that, I guess. Don't let it blow up. And if there is a blow up, let people cool, and then take the time to actually resolve it in a once everyone's cooled down. Like, don't just like pretend it didn't happen and hope it won't happen again, because if you just leave it unresolved, it will happen again. 100%.
100%.
Anyway.
And yeah, just to add on to that, if that's okay, Holmes, like Simi alluded to it in the chat, but Dave Morgan is really going to be the linchpin in that, I guess, because last year for Archangels, I was so glad to have Dave on my team, because sometimes we'd come out of a game and it'd be against like Aftershock or Catalyst, and we would have lost by like an easy 20k, and we'd be beating ourselves up. Oh, why didn't we do better? And Dave Morgan just go, it's all right. It's just one game. Like, walk in the next one, it's going to be okay. And you just turn around and go, okay, put on the pack and go play again. So I think having Dave on this team is huge. And just a quick shout out to Dom, because he's doing a good job. Maybe take a step back and breathe, because you're still a first year captain, mate. You are doing excellent, and we are all very proud of you. So keep it up, mate, and keep positive.
Yeah, I feel like that attitude, again, that's one of those inexperienced things as well. And with those really solid level heads on there, you just flip that attitude around from a blame thing to accept responsibility, apologize, move on, get on there, that level of maturity. But the big comment that I really want to make about Cerberus, they're the third team from Hobart there. And one thing that, like, there's a massive credit to, I feel like the strength of your first best team is significantly increased, and is a real credit to the strength of your third best team. By having 3 really strong teams that are playing against each other and skilling up each other, and like you were saying right at the start there, Sega, that Cerberus were nearly taking games off the Vikings. Having 3 really strong teams to train against really helps everyone in there to be able to play against as well. So Cerberus should, if nothing else, pat themselves on the back for being such really good training partners for teams like the Vikings and the Archangels as well.
The
takes
kids
two to
are
tango.
sponges. Yes.
Exactly.
Or in our case, it takes 3 to tango. 3 teams of 5 to tango.
To triango.
And honestly,
Triango.
the kids on this team, absolute sponges. They just pick up
Yeah.
everything.
It's fantastic. It's really great to see.
Well, yeah. Have we got
Thrango.
anything else we'd like to say about Hobart Cerberus?
I think we should wrap it up there. We've probably covered for your bathroom break, so we're all good, I reckon.
Cool beans. Yeah. All right, moving on. In this place, 20th place, we have New Zealand Dysfunctional. So I had them a little bit higher. Run had them in 23rd. Sega had them a little bit higher. Drake had them in 20th.
Spot on again.
Spot on again. How good. And then the community had them in 23rd, netting them. Final prediction of 20th place. Let's go to New Zealand Dysfunctional. On the team, we have Sheru, Rogue, Guerrero, Lycan, and Four Eyes. So very different Dysfunctional to what we've seen before. Yeah, Sega, you saw these guys more recently at Invite. So yeah, what would you say the strengths of this team is?
Yeah, look, so played Four Eyes and Lycan were both at Nats last year. But no, actually getting to play against them at Invite. So Four Eyes, Rogue, Guerrero. Sorry, I know him as Cody. Cheru, which is actually Moldy's wife, I believe. And Rogue. Like, honestly, this team is insane. So Rogue, Cheru, and Guerrero were all on a team known as Tragedy of Hamlet. And they were actually penned for first pretty much the whole way through before the other Hobart team came in and just and won it. But honestly, the skill set is there, and yeah, genuinely, Cheru and Guerrero will probably come out as breakout players.
Yeah, super excited. Are they all based in like Silverdale?
So Cody is Four Eyes and like in a oh my goodness, sorry. They're local as well. So yeah, they are relatively. I've completely forgotten the name of the city that they're from, but they are local to one another, and they do try and train together. So.
Cool. Well, what would you say the possible weaknesses of this team are based on your exposure to them at invites?
Look, realistically, I do imagine that Four Eyes will pick up on a lot of weaknesses and just try and bring the team up. I did notice that with Guerrero, he's still a relatively new player, so he might pick up a couple of like cheeky covering terms or something like that. But yeah, look, I genuinely imagine this team being able to pick up on any weaknesses that they have and hopefully adapting them as it goes on.
And for you, who would be your ultimate standout player for Dysfunctional?
For me, it's kind of a toss-up between Four Eyes and Rogue. If Four Eyes can just sit in a corner and pack it, I've seen him walk out of games, with 14k one base sort of thing. So I can 100% say that it's good, going to be Four Eyes in that aspect. Rogue is just that quick player, and she's honestly like amazing. She'll just come in and deny you or get a cheeky reflect or what have you. So I reckon this team is once again very well rounded.
Yeah, 2016 doubles champion Four Eyes. Pretty good at being able to get in and get those bases. And it's exactly that kind of skill set that is going to be so handy in this kind of arena.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, I'll go back to the Bendigo results. Excluding two people in this Bendigo Nuts, the two people that had like 2 or 3 games, Four Eyes had the highest base average of the tournament with 1.89. So,
what was his denial rate though? Real quick.
Denials. Also 1.89. Very interesting. As we always say, you miss every shot you don't take. That's almost at the point where you might as well not even bother shooting the base. But yeah, the man can get bases. I think Four Eyes has always been one of those players for me that when you if you just catch a glimpse of him playing, it's looks so effortless, and you're like, oh, this guy's not really doing much. And then you come out of a game and he's got some absolute monster score, and you're like, where is he getting that from? I don't know if that's just me. He just finds them, and he doesn't die. He usually always has really strong tag ratios. He's very disciplined in terms of not pushing up. I feel like he doesn't get shot very often on the way to getting field points, if that makes sense. Sometimes when you're a defender and you go from, all right, now I'm going to go get field points because no one's attacking, and then you run and you take a death on the way, and it's like, all right, whatever. But I feel like he's very disciplined with just the way he moves around the arena and stuff. He just doesn't get shot very often. Yeah, I think for me, if I was to choose a standout player, not having seen Cheru and Guerrero, and I haven't seen Rogue play in a while as well, Four Eyes would have to be my standout player. Doubles champ from 2016. I played triples with him in 2019 when I broke the format. You're welcome, guys.
Nice.
And that was really fun playing with him.
That was good.
Yeah. Have we got anything else we'd like to add about New Zealand Dysfunctional? Drake, you got anything?
Not in particular. Rogue played on the New Zealand A team when she played in 2020 as well, New Zealand Vipers as well. So definitely has the experience there as well. But yeah, it's gonna rely a lot on Cher and Guerrero's, how well they're going to adapt to this arena as well.
Just really want to quickly harken back to Four Eyes base taking abilities, because he will get in and take them. Last year he did harken his denial rate to poor comms on spare parts, so hopefully this team has a lot better comms, and yeah, he might be getting a lot cleaner bases. So
I feel like Four Eyes just is the most calm person about getting those bases. He just makes it feel so effortless.
Yeah, I would agree.
Pleasure to watch.
He makes everything look effortless.
Yeah, that's
then you shoot him and you'll be like, oh, good shot, mate.
Yep, that's it.
It just doesn't. Yeah, nothing phases Four Eyes. Good on him. Keep it up. Yeah, anything else we want to add about Dysfunctional before we move on?
Nothing I can think of.
No worries. Well, let's move on to our 19th place team. Best of luck to New Zealand Dysfunctional. Leviathan. So I had them higher up. Runt had them in 19th. Sega had them in 24th. Drake had them in 19th. Another one, Drake. My goodness.
3 in a row. And
then the community had them a little bit higher. Where's Leviathan? They're right there. How good. 19th. 19th, right? Yeah. We haven't seen any of these players at Pre-Nuts, have we, for Hobart?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
No. Did you play against these guys at that Canberra tournament? Did they go to that as well?
There was a couple of players that Yazbek was playing with just to as a little bit of an experience comp, I guess. I do believe he was playing with Trav then, but yeah, that Canberra comp is kind of a flash in the pan. It went so quickly, you know.
Yeah.
But we I hardly remember playing these guys at Bendigo as well. I swear it was just one of those teams where, you know, two ships passing in the night. Like, you got to see them maybe once in a blue moon. But I
Yeah.
genuinely, genuinely, I think we played one Ascensions game against them.
Right. Yeah, it's unfortunate when, yeah, that'll just happen. Sometimes you just, yeah, like you said, you just barely see each other. I think, is this roster the same as last year? Let me quickly check. Obviously, bear with me, going through data. Where are they? So they finished in 17th place last year. 3 spots above you guys. There you go. And they had, so it's Tuscan, Nightmare Rose, Sicarius, Yazbek, and Oddity. So it's the same, except they don't have this Sicarius guy, and they've got Trav, I believe. So I think, obviously, you know, if I also didn't play Leviathan very much at all in Bendigo, maybe one game, if that, because it was like a partial round robin, I think, so we didn't even play everyone. And then also they went at pre-nut. So it's going to be a little hard for us to give some meaningful insight for this team. But I think and Syracuse added on, yeah. I think a few things. One, I think the New South Wales scene has really been growing the last few years. You know, they kind of had a bit of a lull, like when a bunch of the Albury players moved to Queensland, and a couple Albury players just stopped playing and stuff. But now they've got, you know, they've got Leviathan and Rampage would be playing together at Code Red, and Rampage has been doing really well. So I feel like at the very least, I expect this team coming in Nats. Something I've always said about the Code Red guys is their mechanical skills are very good, and they seem to always pick up the timing very quickly as well, just across the board. If they can, you know, pick up H2, you know, they obviously haven't been exposed to it, but if they can pick up H2 quickly, that'll be really good for them. I think also just the fact that they're playing with the same roster they played with last year, and if I'm not mistaken, like a very similar roster to previous years as well, because this isn't just the first or second time we've seen them. We've seen them a few times now. Obviously, every time you play with a team and you have the same roster, you're just going to keep adding on those little 1% as you go. So that's going to serve this team very well. Yeah, I don't know. It's unfortunately, yeah, kind of hard to give much more insight outside of that. I think if I was to talk about weaknesses, something that I think the Code Red guys struggle with specifically is they don't get the opportunity to play many team games. They do a lot of drills, which I think is kind of harkens to why their mechanical skills are always really sharp and good when they get to Nats, just their fundamentals and stuff. But not being able to do team games really hurts your ability to maybe not your initial strategy into a game, but like at the points where things change, right?
Yeah,
so, you know, the opening strategy is fine, but then suddenly someone gets a base, the game opens up, something goes chaotic. Now it's time to really like start making big strategic decisions. I feel like all the teams and states that don't get to play many team games really struggle in those scenarios. Did you have something to say to that, Drake?
Yeah, just to add on exactly that. You know, it's those moments where it's the reading of the game. The game, something about it changes, and you just like something happens in the middle of a game. You're like, oh, this now. And having experience, like having so many people playing together, you know, you kind of learn where everyone's at with those kind of a call. And, you know, we were alluding to that a little bit earlier as well. Like, if everyone's on the same page and you all make the same call, even if it's not the right one, you'll commit to 100% and you'll actually come out a heck of a lot better rather than having the individual things. And again, like it's weird to say that it's an inexperienced thing because these guys have a lot of experience and they've been playing together and they're absolutely going to kill it with that teamwork thing. But yeah, like only now that you mention it, thinking about it, that I feel like that actually is one of their weaknesses, is that, you know, that the mid game, I think it's the, you know, they'll come into a game with a really good plan, but then the plan doesn't always work, and the mid game is a lot of the time where a lot of these big teams will actually be winning their games from. And that little bit there, and making the right call at the right time, and, you know, like just cleaning up a couple of those little errors is going to be really critical for these guys.
Yeah. Sega, did you have anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, look, this was one of the teams that I really struggled placing. Just looking back at it, I think I put them in 24th purely because I was like, I did see a lot of other teams that had the H2 experience and the Maze experience that might push them down for round robin and the Cascades. So it was just one of those things where I could 100% see them in 19th, but I could also see them dropping down a little bit to the teams that were able to pick up experience in both the Maze and the system, I guess.
All right. Well, do we have anything else we'd like to add for Leviathan?
Good luck.
Yeah.
Best of luck. And sorry we weren't able to give much insight for and talk about you guys much, but just how it is sometimes where you just barely see teams and players, huh? We'll try and give you some more love in the review. Anyway, we'll move on. 3 teams left, guys. We're doing a good job. We have Adrenaline. So I had them higher. Runt had them higher, I think. Hold on, let me do one of these. I can't let you see. Oh, there they are. That's a good way of doing it. So I had them up there. Runt had them in 17th. Sega had them in 16th. Drake had them in 17th. And then Community had them in 15th, which had them 18th. Interesting that somehow their final one was lower than all the other ones. I don't know how that worked out. But anyway, that's where we are at. Adrenaline. Where are they? There they are. Adrenaline. So, returning for their second year together, we have Hilahu, no idea. Supposed to be Harkrage. I don't know what's Moo. Jesse and Jeb. So, of note, they had Akira, the Adelaide side up on their team last year, but she's not playing this year. But the rest of the team is the same. They finished 14th in Bendigo Nationals. I think they had a pretty good climb as well on that last day. I suppose I should talk about them. Strengths. The first obvious one is their defense. Their defense is super, super, super solid. And I would attribute a lot of that to Jesse in the last line position is, I think, very quickly becoming one of the best last lines. Definitely in the state. I would say he was probably first or second best last line we have in Adelaide. And very quickly, like, I think at this Nationals, Bendigo didn't really, like, the last line position wasn't nearly as important. I'm really keen to see Jesse at a Nationals where the last line position is important. I think he's going to rise and become one of the best last lines in the country. Hyping up my boy Jesse. He deserves it. He's at training every single week. He's at all of the Sunday trainings, all the Monday trainings, plays every game, doesn't sit out. Yeah, really, really good. And the yin to his yang, Jeb, she's got really, like, she's getting some really strong fundamentals, and her comms are like really, really, really good as well. And then also just the classic, like, that female voice kind of stands out amongst all the other dudes go, right? So that's always good. Those two together, And then whoever they have as the third person in defense is they have a really, really solid three player defense. I think that's probably their strongest asset is their defense. But on top of that, Hillahuan, no idea. In trainings recently, they've been able to, there's definitely been some trainings where they're just having a good night and they're just getting, they're getting bases before Aftershock's getting bases, or sometimes before like Apex is getting bases as well. Before both of us in the same game. So they definitely have that ability to, as we were talking to before about how the kind of meta was playing out for it at Prenuts. I think this is another team where the meta kind of suits their playstyle of being a team with a solid defense that doesn't drop many bases and players that have the ability to just steal a base and really crack open a game. They've also been playing Jesse as well a lot, like giving him lots of practice. Like he's a absolute insane last line, but giving him more and more time to attack as well. So Jesse is another player they have in reserve if it does come to like a six, they need to get 6 bases or something, right? And then Mu also is like, Harkrage has never been a slouch in terms of getting bases as well. So well-rounded team. Having the same roster for the last few years is going to serve them well. In terms of weaknesses, I think this team hasn't been training as consistently as they would have liked, for one reason or another. There's been lots of trainings where there'll be 3 of them, 4 of them, sometimes less for one reason or another. Like, for instance, No Idea just got back from like a month and a bit maybe in England, so obviously you couldn't play with them. But yeah, I think less a weakness, more just a challenge will be for them is 1, adapting to Helios 2, because the only player in this team that's been to Hobart and played on Helios 2 is Jesse. 2, adapting to the arena. I said their style will suit the arena, but there's still like, in theory it suits them, but it's whether they're actually going to be able to pull it off. And then, yeah, just they haven't been able to play as a full unit for quite a few weeks. Maybe they had one like a week ago, but not very often. So, if they can really pull things together, I fully expect Adrenaline to definitely crack into the top 15. I think I had them at around 13th or something. These guys have the skills strategically and like in terms of like making decisions in games and stuff. We play a lot of team games in Adelaide, and they have been getting really good at, they're down. All right, now it's time to do something different. Or they're winning. All right, now it's time to take control of the game. Or, they're doing that, which means we can do this. They've been getting really good at that. So if they can figure out how to apply that in Hobart, this team's going to be one to look out for. And then to wrap it up, standout player, I already said it, Jesse. He's just he's like level-headed, always in a, positive mindset, really, really strong fundamentals, physical attributes are like that tall, skinny, very agile. Like he's probably one of the fastest people I've ever seen. He doesn't, not necessarily running around all the time, but when he lunges into a base, like, yeah, he's very fast and he's long. So he's go gadget arms.
Yep.
Yeah. And he's just always playing. He plays a lot. So all of those things together, Jesse is definitely the big rising star in Adelaide. And I'm expecting big things from him in the future. Not to say that the rest of the team aren't all amazing players, but I think they would all agree that Jesse is, superstar, absolute superstar in and outside of the arena. Have you guys got anything you'd like to add about Adrenaline?
Yeah, look, last year at Bendigo, Adrenaline and Archangels, we just clashed heads so much. I think a couple of the pre-nats and definitely nationals, it was honestly, we were taking game for game off of each other, and then it seemed that we Archangels would be taking games in Cascades, and then come Ascensions that they'd take the important one, I guess. So I want to say that maybe that was just us being very fresh-faced and not knowing the lay of the land. But yeah, I think I do think that 18th is quite a conservative pick for them. I can definitely see them going a bit higher. That's why I initially had them in 16th. So yeah, look, I'm very excited to see where this team plays, because I think on paper they play very similarly to Archangels.
Yeah, I would kind of agree with that as well.
Yep.
Pretty similar. Drake, have you got anything you'd like to add?
Just to comment on the maths that you were talking about before, about how Adrenaline are tipped 18th, but every single one of us had them tipped higher than that. I think this is another area of the ladder where everything is going to be so close between these teams. Like, so talking about Adrenaline's 2022 results from Bendigo, they were 14th, 15th, and then it dropped to 19th at the end of Cascade 2, and then went back up to 14th in the Format D. Had a massive run. I think the longest run out of anyone, equal longest run in there. But like, there's so few points, victory points between these kind of teams there, that this is the positioning of Adrenaline in 18th there doesn't really mean that they are, like they're not really a bottom half team, but there's just going to be like a massive amount of game to game fluctuation around there, that things are like, we've got such a high quality competition nowadays that it literally is going to come down to points. And I wouldn't be surprised if I saw a couple of these teams in and around there all tied on victory points.
That's actually a really fair point you've brought up there, Drake, is just the tie on victory points. I know that at the end of Prenats 3, teams from 5th to 9th were all tied on VP.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
So I could 100% see quite a lot of these teams all being tied, and yeah, the cascades are what's going to self-correct, I guess.
Yeah. Well, if you guys don't have anything else to add, we'll move on to our 17th team. We've got 2 teams left.
Yep.
Best luck to Adrenaline. You guys got this.
Yeah.
I have all the faith in the world.
I'm gonna have to dip for this one. I'll leave it to you guys. I'll let you announce it though.
All right. Yes. So we have Orcas in 17th place. I had them 21st. Runt had them quite a lot higher. As far up as,
thanks, Runt,
like 12th or something. Sega had them 19th. Drake had you had them in 15th.
Top half, yeah.
Community had you in 19th. Final 17th. No, Drake, you do have to talk about your team. Come on, bro.
I don't want to talk about this dud team. Look at him. Like, Hero was talking about like hyping up Adrenaline there, and about saying how close things are going to be in and around this bunch of teams here.
Yeah.
And then we get some duds like the Orcas that are going to be in here. Like...
Don't be like that, bro. Come on. Hype up the boys.
Yeah. I mean, like, I technically am new to the Orcas on there. They did absolutely fantastic last time. Missing out on Wazzy from last year is a huge loss for the Orcas.
Where's he at?
He is currently studying medicine, I believe, and has exams during Nats. So yeah, I played League with him last season, him and his dad, and like, he very, very desperately wanted to play. Oh, high school exams to get into med, I think he wants to get into medicine. Yeah, he's doing year 12 at the moment, or last year of high school. So, it's had to focus on focus on his education for this year. But the main core there, Rogue, Simi Bear, and Meeseeks as well. Those three guys did amazing, and it's honestly a privilege to be playing with these guys. They asked me beginning of the year to come in and play on the team, and I was like, "Yep, done. I just want to come in. I want to come back. I want to play with my friends." And yeah, looking forward to it. And yeah, it's a real loss losing Hybrid and Flash from the team as well. Having to pull out a little before Prenats 3, and myself getting COVID, and a couple of days before Prenats 3, and having to our flights got cancelled, and I was I thought I had the flu. It was like, well, I may as well do a rat test anyway, which came back positive. And I was like, well, instead of losing my money out on the flights, I get the free cancellation thing because they cancelled on me. So it sucks. I would have loved to be there, but yeah, it's gonna be a bit of a rough ride for us. I feel like we definitely were hoping for top 10. I feel when we made the team earlier in the year, and yeah, things have changed around a little bit, and I think now one of the main goals for us is going to be hitting that 16th place and getting that performance slot for WA. WA's always got one of the performance slots, or as many as we possibly can, and that's always been an important thing for us. We did have to get another Paradox Week, or we did have to get committee approval for an extra team, I think it was, out of this. I'm not 100% sure.
Pretty sure you did.
Correct me.
I'm pretty sure you did.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But we've always had that, and Simi saying AJ Rogue myself are training every chance. Yeah, pretty much. I would love to be training a lot more than I am, but when I'm working 12-hour days, 5 or 6 days a week, it's a little hard.
That'll do it.
Yeah.
Well, listen, obviously, yeah, guys haven't been able to play a full pre-nats together. With the loss of Hybrid and Flash, that's going to hurt you. From what you were probably expecting before. Also, like, picking up Worthy, good player, but just not having the opportunity to play with them will be an interesting hurdle. Yeah. But like Rogue, Simi, and Mr. Meeseeks have all been at pre-nats now. They've got some Helios 2 experience. They've got some experience in the arena. What do you expect your team's strengths to be going into pre-nats?
I'd actually prefer to hear it from you guys. Like, I'd like to hear you guys' read on us. Like, I'll absolutely give you as much insight on there, but it's more interesting for me to hear it from, like, the outside perspective.
Yeah. I guess a question I would have, I think Runt's talked about it a lot, and Sega would probably attest to it as well as how important the last line position is in Hobart. Who would you expect your last line player to be on your team? Because looking at the players, I can't, like, pick one out that's, like, obvious.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's a bit of a toss up there. So when Rogue and I were playing together on the Sharks, we were playing those two defender positions. But we've actually been changing it around a fair bit at training, and had, like, Mr. Meeseeks has actually been really killing it on the inside of the base there and defending. Okay. So yeah, it's I feel like almost any of the five of us could actually play that last line position. Like, I think we're probably going to end up needing Simi is going to be one of our main attackers. I feel like AJ's training hard for last line, but I feel like we've got that versatility throughout the team as well, that we can kind of play almost anything. And
Yeah, and okay, so Rogue's like the captain on paper. Is he going to be in-game leader and lead attacker as well, or is Simi going to be more of the leader, like lead attacker in the game?
Don't know.
Not sure.
Haven't figured that out yet. Like I'm probably going to end up needing to be doing a lot of the attacking. I was always making a lot of our in-game calls,
Yeah.
and that kind of is the role that I seem to play. I've got a lot of experience in, making those mid-game calls, and like Flash being one of the people that I would speak to a lot about this kind of thing. And, he would always hype me up and be like, hey, man, remember this time at this game, I came to you and made this call and you said no. And then immediately was like, actually, correct. Yes, Drake, you saying no to me and let's do this other thing is literally what won us the game.
Yeah.
And things like that. It's really that mid-game thing that I was talking about a little bit before there, and I feel like that's going to be probably one of our biggest strengths there, is being able to pick those moments and make out things there.
Well, yeah, I think in terms of weaknesses for you guys, one, not being able to play together very much. Like Simi said that Rogue, Simi, and Mr. Meeseeks have been playing a lot together, but obviously you can't play with Worthy. You've been busy. Just in terms of the synergies and stuff, and also like it's not like you've been playing on this team for ages and you've not
Exactly.
you've just not been able to train. Like you're new to this team as well. Worthy will be brand new as well. I think one of the biggest hurdles for you guys will be figuring out like what everyone's position is on the team.
Yep.
The quicker you can figure that out, the quicker you can spend more time actually figuring out the arena and less time going, oh, I feel like you should be in this position and I should be like playing last line, and you know what I mean? So if you guys can get over that hurdle as quick as possible, it'll enable you to focus on the things you would expect to focus on as a team that's been playing together all the time, like getting used to H2 and figuring out the strategy of the arena and the field pointing spots and stuff. But I think that'll definitely be the biggest thing that hurts you. But yeah,
and I think
you're all like smart players and stuff, so I would expect you to be like making good comms. The game's like slipping away from you, not to just like sit there and keep status quo, like try and like change things up to try and claw back a win and stuff. But yeah. No, it's kind of hard to predict you guys because of like all the changes and stuff, right? So
yeah, I agree. And I think to commenting about your about what our roles are actually going to be, like I feel like we know that as well. So I reckon that at least through training, not that I've spoken to the guys about it, so Simi in the chat, I'm telling you now, like I feel like it'll be really important for us in those early, like through the trainings and even into the cascades of like just try us in a bunch of the different roles, try doing a bunch of different things, experimenting and being flexible. Like I've always felt that flexibility is probably one of the most important things in those teams. If you get too regimented and you're in a structure, that if someone else can crack that or things fall apart there, the strong teams that don't have that flexibility there will really suffer from it.
Yeah. Sega, have you got anything you'd like to say about the Orcas before we move on to our 15th or to our 16th place team and our last team of tonight?
Look, I think Drake touched on a lot of the shortcomings, I guess, of what the team was showing in PN3. Just from my experience, whenever Angels was playing Orcas, we all of the calls coming from Orcas felt like they were maybe a minute or two too late. So Drake, having you there to make those mid-game calls could be the difference between them or you guys picking up a few more wins, I guess. So I'm really excited to see you come together as a whole, and and just see how much this training has been paying off, because I mean, seeing Orca's 7th last year, obviously losing a couple of players since then. Who knows? I'm excited to see where you guys do end up.
Yeah, me too. And like, no joke on that. It's not often that I can say that I'm the weakest player on the team. Like, I'm definitely feeling that in there. And if that's the case, like, I've got a lot of experience there, and that's, only going to be good for the team as well. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm very excited for it.
Yeah. Well, best of luck to you guys. Hope you can, iron out the things you need to iron out early on and get cracking on and crack the top 15.
Yeah.
Last team of tonight, guys. Quantum. So I had them in 16th. Runt had them higher. Sega had them in 17th. Drake had them in 18th. Community had them in 17th, which ended them with in 16th. On Quantum, we have Griffo, Pug Salad, Noodle, Jam, Cheeto, and Hazmat. So this is this exact same roster as Noodlebox that played Pre-Nuts 3. And at Pre-Nuts 3, they came 12th out of the 17 teams. So they beat the WA Cowboys, they beat that WA Darwin team, they beat Cerberus, and they beat the Orcas team that was there. Obviously it wasn't the same Orcas as going to be at this, but yeah. I'm happy to talk about these guys a bit. So we've got the Queensland young blood, new blood. 5 new players to ZLTAC. I think Pug Salad and Noodle have been, and I'm pretty sure quite a few of these players have been around in like the local scene playing leagues and like their local tournaments and stuff. They've done quite a few of those. Now all of them have gone to a pre-nuts. They've got the H2 exposure. They've got exposure to the arena. And I'm sure they've been training really hard, like as you'd kind of expect from like these Queensland teams. Yeah, this is one of the teams, again, really hard to place because there's 5 new people, but they're 5 new Queensland players, and they're all mechanically, from what we saw at Pre-Nuts 3, pretty good, pretty damn good. So we've got Griffo is on the team as the experienced team mum, which is it's pretty cool to see. It's pretty funny just to see like Griffo and then like all of these kids. It's just very much the image of like team mum, and I'm sure she kind of embodies that as well. But yeah, I don't know. I think in terms of strengths, you would expect. And we did see it at Pre-Nuts 3. All of their mechanical skills are very strong. That's just what happens in Queensland. There was a discussion before about the advantage of drills versus team games. And I think drills is especially good for developing your fundamental skills, like the mechanical things. And they do a lot of drills in Queensland. And when you're coming up against like Wolfpack, or Catalyst, I should say nowadays, type players, all of these people that have been in multiple finals, you're going to get pretty good at shooting people. Because you kind of have to, right?
And to reiterate the comment I made before about like the strength of your best team is based on your third best team, like even for places where like Queensland, they've got 6 teams or whatever, the strength of the squad as a whole just skills up these people so much. When you're playing against quality opposition there, you can learn so much there, and you just get better at playing it. It's good. I'm excited to see Quantum in this.
Yeah. Well, in terms of standout player, I don't think I have one, so I'm just going to highlight a few things. Obviously, Griffo, taking all of these newer players under her wing. She'll have a lot of experience to lend, but I think maybe even more importantly, just like the Griffo's a pretty chill gal, and in those games where like they come out and maybe they're really frustrated about what happened, Griffo will have the maturity and the level-headedness to kind of like bring everyone level and chill and stuff, because we were talking about with Cerberus before how like I feel like young teams especially are really prone to getting really heated and passionate and like starting to like be at each other's throats and stuff. So Griffo is the Captain Morgan of Quantum, if you will, like being able to kind of keep things chill, keep things good, keep the vibes nice. And I feel like that's, and also just the general life skills, like, you know, when they have to go to Woolies, you know, to get their shopping for the week, you know, everyone go follow mum, you know, everyone hold mum's hand, which look both ways before you cross the road. That's yeah, I think I think the outside of game stuff can get really easily overlooked, but Griffith will be like a massive asset for that team for that as well. Not to say she's not going to be an absolute gun in the arena as well. Of course she will.
Yeah.
But yeah, Pug Salad and Noodle, you know, they're young, but they're tall, they're lanky, and they're good at shooting people. Sounds like a few Queensland players I know. And then Hazmat has been to all three prenuts now, and something that Runt specifically has always highlighted and hyped up is Hazmat's as Runt would like to say anchor, but more correctly last line. Hazmat in the last line position in these bases is really good, and that's going to pay dividends for this team because yeah, it's your last line is probably one of the most important positions in the arena. For this tournament specifically. Yeah, I don't know. Have you guys got anything you'd like to add about Quantum?
Look, I've actually got a fair whack to say about Quantum, to be honest, because Hazmat being a tall lefty, just to touch on that, is huge in this maze. Tall lefty, who's also an anchor, is it's actually quite beneficial because they just get to hold some highly advantageous spots inside those bases. One thing I will mention, just because it harkens onto that point of Griffo being sort of the most experienced player, I have seen a couple of I was able to ref a couple of the Quantum or Noodle Box games at PN3, and I did notice that Griffo would make a couple of calls, and Pug, I believe it was Pug. I'm sorry, I'm not as good with the twins as I thought I was going to be. But I did notice that one of the twins would sort of chirp back and say, "Oh no, that we can't do that. We lost a base last time we did that," or "Oh, we can't do this." But like sometimes you do just have to listen to the experienced team member, and if you do lose a base because of it, that's okay. Talk about it after the game, but maybe don't question it in the middle. I guess.
Yep. Yeah,
I think that can be really tilting as well, right? For players and teams, is when things should be questioned and challenged outside of games, obviously in a constructive way. But things like inside of a game isn't really the time for that.
Definitely not. Yeah, we've touched on this point like a bunch of times throughout this stream. Of, you know, you don't need to make the best call at the time. But if you make a call, stick with it. If everyone goes along with what that call is, it'll work out a heck of a lot better than, you know, and yeah, like Wax is saying, disagree. And I raised the example before is, yes, you can counter call on a thing, but you need to make sure that you can't just say, no, don't.
No, that's wrong.
You need to say, no, let's do this instead. You know,
Definitely. And in the case that I'm bringing up, there was also a lot of lost time in the exchange as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's all well and good to say, no, we should do this instead. And then in your example, Drake, Flash was like, okay, yes, let's do that immediately. But if you're losing 30 seconds to a minute in an exchange that should only take, you know, max 15 seconds, then that's a lot of game time that you're missing out on.
Yeah. I think the Flash example, you know, he was playing our mid place and was like, oh, we're down on bases here. We need to dump. and I basically said, no, let's hold. He said yes. You know,
Yeah.
that was the entire conversation.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah, 100%.
losing time and that kind of thing is what will lose you games. Yeah, if you lose 30 seconds to that, you know, you should be able to say this instead. Yeah, that's to read out Wax there. The captain can say no and you go, but you should be able to say this instead. If you lose 30 seconds, that's crazy.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, not to say. Yeah, I think the delivery of it and the time devoted to it is really important.
Yep.
I think Aftershock's definitely been doing a lot of that more recently. To try and help, like, take some of the pressure off of Fuggin to make every single call.
Yeah.
We're all experienced enough. We've played with each other for long enough that we know what we need to do and stuff. And if someone has an idea of like, oh, Fuggin, we should do this, he'll like stop for like 1 second and he'll either say yes or no. And if he says no, then you just keep playing. If he says yes, then cool. But I think yeah, the delivery of it is very important. Yeah, there's not much, especially as a captain, I guess. If you are saying something and then your team's questioning it, it can be pretty like tilting because you are the leader of the team as the captain, and if people are disputing you in the game and the delivery of it's not savory, it can kind of make you feel like, you know, the team doesn't have faith in you and stuff like that, and then that can just be pretty negative for the team's morale in general, right? But there's a time and a place and a way of doing it, I guess, is the yeah.
Anyway,
yeah.
Quantum, like that, they'll absolutely be learning a heck of a lot through this experience as well. And you know, another really strong Queensland team. Like watching them play PlayerUnknown's 3 was great. And yeah, again, another Queensland team, 16th on our list here, but you know, guaranteed top 10 because they're Queensland.
Yeah, they could very well be higher.
Exactly.
Did either of you had anything you'd like to add before we wrap up the show for tonight?
Good luck, Quantum. I'm actually very excited to watch you guys play again.
Me too.
I think this is one of the more exciting teams to see, just to see the what are the new
There's
guys
a lot
got.
of potential.
Yes.
100%.